It's like, would you follow you? And at that time, I thought, yeah, it would follow me. But I've come to learn, that, man, I wasn't really worthy of following like I thought I was at that time.
We started High Value for the people that find value in building your business, your family, and your faith without sacrificing any of the three. We feel like business, family, and faith go hand in hand, and you don't have to separate any of the three. In fact, to build anything of high value, they have to go together.
High Value.
Welcome to High Value, where we talk about how to build your business, your family, and your faith without sacrificing any of the three. Today we have on Mr. Jeremy Sinnis, who is a business owner. He's a father and a dad, or a husband and a dad. Jeremy, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, Jeremy, as business-wise, you are part owner in John L. Scott Real Estate.
Yes.
How's that been?
It's been great. So it's been about 17 months now.
Okay.
It was May of last year that we got presented with the opportunity to buy into the company, and my wife and I had been in real estate for a while, and we've always treated everything we've touched as if it was ours, and as if we owned it. I mean, going back to when I worked at Coca-Cola, like I worked there for almost 20 years, and I always treat it as if I own the company. To this day, you won't see me drinking a Pepsi.
It's just a hard rival.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like it's it's ingrained in me, right? And so like everything I've ever done with Advocare, we used to train people for free out of our garage, and that was awesome. But I wasn't a personal trainer. I didn't have these accreditations, but I always treated it as if I was an owner, and so people would never know the difference, right? And so when we got into real estate, it's the same thing. Like we treat it as a business. We treat it as if we owned it. And so when we were presented with this opportunity, it was an easy yes. And I mean, partnering with Corey and Brittany was a no-brainer, just because their integrity and their character, and it's beyond reproach, and it just felt like a great fit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's back up a little bit. So you just said that you worked for Coca-Cola. How long did you work for Coca-Cola before making this jump?
So I was at Coca-Cola for 18 years when I decided to get my real estate license.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I got my real estate license, and I did both for a year before I made a decision to leave there. Yeah.
So what about real estate attracted you? Like, why did you start to consider real estate when you had this kind of steady, pretty good job, I would say? Yeah. So what made you decide to?
Yeah, Coke was great. I mean, I had a lot of flexibility. I could have retired there. They paid me well. I had benefits.
Yeah.
But I was also capped out in my salary, right? Aside from your general raises every year. But I've always looked for more. I mean, with more resources, you can do more. And so I know in real estate, there's no ceiling on what you can make, and it's all based. You make what you produce. And so I felt like, based on the production that was available to me, that I could make a lot of money and do a lot of good with that money. And so it also gave me time flexibility, which was more important than anything with my daughter growing up and being able to coach her and whatnot. So
yeah, no, that makes sense.
So yeah, I guess the flexibility of time, the finances, those were two very big things for me. And and then of course I've always done things where I've tried to help people, and so what a better way to help someone than with their biggest financial resources.
No doubt. Yeah. So you obviously worked, in your W-2 job for a while you're also trying to build this business. What was your experience, and what would you say to someone that is kind of doing the same thing, where they want to eventually kind of get into ownership, business ownership themselves, but also, can't quite leave the business yet? How are you able to build that?
So for me, my experience is vastly different than what your experience might be or the next person. And I've got this question a lot because people see me transition well, and so they want to do the same thing. Maybe they're not happy with their job or whatever, or maybe they just want more. And so this happened during COVID, during 2020, and so the world was shut down except for those of us at Coke. We were busier than ever, and we were working a lot. But my job was super flexible. I always performed, and they never stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. Whether I pursued Advocare for a long time, and then their financial model changed, and they never stopped me from pursuing that. And same thing with real estate; they never stopped me from pursuing that either.
That's great.
And when Advocare's financial model changed, it opened up a lot of free time, and so doing that, I said yes to real estate. But it didn't come it came at a cost.
Right.
And so for the first year, I worked 80 hours a week. I'd work my 40 hours
Between
at Coke.
both, yeah.
Yeah. I'd work 40 hours at real estate. And it got to a point in, it was like December of 23 where, December of 22, sorry. Where my daughter asked me, Dad, when are you going to leave one of your jobs? And it was like, dang, like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought I could do both for a while.
Yeah.
And, but I got too busy, and I wasn't spending enough time with my family. So I made a decision, and that decision was real estate, and it's been amazing. It's been one of the greatest decisions of my life.
Yeah. Did you feel ready when you made that jump, or did you feel like you just had to make the decision?
No, I had to make the decision.
Yeah.
So we had set some goals aside. So I wanted to have my truck paid off. I wanted to have $50,000 in the bank in savings in an emergency fund, just because I was nervous, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm coming from a W-2 job where I had benefits to something unknown. We're a full 100% commission. It was kind of scary, but it was either go back to stay at Coca-Cola for the rest of my life, or make this jump now. And we've been really successful, and so I took the risk. Yeah.
What do you feel like it takes to become or find the success that you were able to obtain early on? Like, is there something that you feel like you did early on that you learned that really made the greatest impact?
So I think the biggest thing that's helped me in real estate is the fact that I was 38 years old when I made this jump, and I had spent a lifetime of building success and building credibility with people, and that was through multiple avenues. I'm a big proponent of not bouncing from job to job or relationship to relationship, staying steadfast in what you believe in. And so I've worked at McDonald's for 2.5 years in high school, and then I was at Coca-Cola for 19 and a half years. Yeah. And now I'm doing real estate, right? And yes, I dabbled in Advocare on the side. It's something that could have been our financial freedom, but then I've also been married to the same woman for almost 20 years. Yeah. We've owned a couple houses together. We lived in our first house for 11 years. I'm just not a big fan of people jumping from job to job, relationship to relationship. I think when you plant roots, like, things grow. And so we've been in the same church for 15 years. It's just, I think that's the biggest thing is, like, sticking and staying produces fruit.
Yeah, so consistency is probably the biggest differentiator between most people, would you say then?
Yeah, I mean, think about when you go to the gym. If you're consistent, you see results. If you stay disciplined to your diet, you see results. Yeah. Think about reading your Bible. If you stay consistent, with your daily worship and prayer, like, you see results and fruit in your life. So whatever you give time to really produces. And same thing, like, if you're giving time to all the bad stuff, if you're on your phone looking at porn all day, think about the results that are going to be produced in your life, and they're probably not the results you want.
Right. So why do you think people struggle with consistency then? Like, what have you seen any, like, because obviously, now that you're owner, you're around a lot of agents, probably around solid agents, agents that maybe aren't as consistent. Have you seen a reason why maybe some people don't stay in that consistent lane?
It's tough. I mean, staying consistent and staying disciplined to achieve your goals is hard. Yeah. Forever I wanted to be this big, buff, fit dude, and I'd work out consistently for a long time, and next thing you know, you compromise a little bit, and then it gets easier to compromise again and again and again. Next thing you know, you haven't worked out in 6 months, and now you've lost all those gains, right? Same thing in business. Like, it's easy to say yes at the beginning when you're excited and you're in the honeymoon phase, and it's like, I'm gonna rip the head off this, and then you don't see success maybe as fast as you want, right? And so then it's like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Man, maybe I should try something different. And these doubts start creeping in. And so people allow those negative thoughts like to hinder them and stop their progress, when in reality it's like, man, just keep pushing, like your breakthrough's coming. Right. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is people quit before the breakthrough ever happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how long have you been, so when you quit Coke and before you got into ownership, how long had that been in real estate?
I left Coke in April of 21.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, April of 21. And then we took ownership in May of 24.
Okay. That makes sense, yeah.
And so it's about 3 years difference there. And so we kept honing our skills, and I felt like it, at that point, Corey felt like he could trust us, and he knew that we knew our stuff, and was ready to give us the opportunity. So,
So again, what was the desire on your part to move from, again, being your standalone agent? You have the freedom, you don't have any other responsibilities besides yourself, and what made you want to jump into ownership at that point?
And that's a good question, because it would be so much easier to just sit back and sell houses and help people on our own. And to be completely transparent, like that's where most of our income comes from. Yeah. And so, but I really, really enjoy helping people win in life. And so it's like taking on the ownership of the company. And yes, I could have done trainings and all that stuff without being an owner. But when you put you on the line and you say, I'm all in, there's something that says, there's something about that makes you work even harder for your business, for the people around you. Like, you can't let people down, right? Your business has to be successful because there's people relying on you, and that's a challenge to me that's always been worth it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how has your experience been with moving into ownership with a partner, right? And you guys had never done anything before previously, right? As far as like ownership.
No.
So how was that transitioning into, again, being your standalone to then ownership, but also a partner?
It's a challenge, no doubt. Like everything's a challenge. I work with my spouse. Like,
we'll get to that too. Yeah.
So there's challenges in all of it, right? But it's, you work through it. You have a mutual goal between, like, the Bemis's and us. We have a mutual goal on how we want to build this company, and so being flexible and amenable to the other party, and like, we can't do everything my way. We can't do everything Corey's way, and that's fine. Like, but when we have a goal in mind and we focus on that goal, it works out really well. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, speaking of partnerships, like you just talked about, you are partners also with your wife. So you got into real estate. Did your wife get into real estate the same time as you did?
No, actually, she started before me.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was a human resource manager forever. That's what she went to school for. And so then Corey had approached her about being his assistant, because he knew that she was looking for a career change.
Sure.
And so he approached her about being his assistant, and she said yes. And so she got her real estate license quickly, like within 28 days of him hiring her.
Oh my gosh.
And it was crazy, but she's super smart, and she's very disciplined, and she got it done. And so she loved it. She did really well her first year, not only helping Corey sell in the same amount of houses, but also doing well on her own selling houses. And so I saw her success, and so she had encouraged me to make the leap as well. So her and Corey and my buddy Matt Stiles, like they've all encouraged me to get into real estate. And so when I saw how much my wife loved it, and through their encouragement, I was like, this is something we got to do.
Yeah. So then, walk me through the timeline then. So she was a part of real estate, you jumped into real estate. Did you guys partner right away? Did you try to do your own things for a little while? How did that work?
So when she had got hired by Corey, she had a 2-year commitment with him.
Okay.
And so she honored that, and she was his assistant for 2 years. So it was another year after I started, where I was basically on my own, and she was working for Corey.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I was on my own, though. Like, I remember many late nights, me having Lindsay go over my contracts and making sure that everything was done right. And she would oftentimes correct me because I was new and didn't really know what I was doing, but it was awesome, like having that hands-on training at home.
Right.
and so yeah, my wife trained me in real estate.
That's what,
She's trained me in marriage, and she trained me in
there
real
you go.
estate.
That's right. So then when you guys partner, let's say there's another couple that's, again, want to get into real estate, business, whatever it is, and maybe they want to do it with their spouse. What are things that you have learned in order for that to happen?
Yeah.
And also, like, keeping your marriage solid at home.
Yeah, so there's a few things I've learned, and there's some things that I'm still working on.
Right. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing I'm working on is that I need to get better at is Lindsay wants me home for dinner.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes miss dinner because I'm working, or I'm coaching my daughter's softball team, and so that's something that I can definitely get better at. I will say if another couple wants to get into real estate, you definitely have to, like, there's some benefits and some minuses to it. Like, you're going to be around each other all the time. Yeah, so it's hard not to talk about business all the time. And so you have to work really hard on dating each other. You have to work really hard on talking about things other than real estate, and because everybody wants to talk about real estate. And so those are some challenges. Also, like, the things that you can do to help each other is you got to be able to give each other some grace. You got to know that, like, when Lindsay takes that phone call at 7:30 at night and someone wants to go see a house, that she's going to answer that phone. She's going to set an appointment to go see that house, or whatever the case may be. And it may not be that night, but she's going to interrupt whatever we were doing. And it's the nature of our business. And it's vice versa, same thing here. Like, if I get a call from Levonte and Levonte wants to sell his house, I'm going to take that phone call and we're going to talk about it. And we're probably going to set a time and date to go look at that. But again, it's an interruption into our personal life.
Right.
And so they really do mesh. It's hard to separate those two. And so there has got to be a lot of grace given. A lot of times there needs to be counseling that needs to happen too when you're working with your spouse, because you're going to innately have issues with each other at different points, because you're not always going to agree on everything. And so for us, we actually hired a real estate coach who we call our real estate therapist.
Real estate counselor too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. What makes that relationship, like, you guys working together? I'm assuming that it creates this, like, different experience for people. Getting a married couple that can work with, a solid Christian married couple. What do you feel like about your relationship that kind of separates the experience that people get with you guys?
For sure. So there's a lot of benefit to that.
Yeah.
And so the things that I would say is, when you work with an individual agent, they're truly on their own. And so if they're busy, you're not getting serviced, right? And also, like, what if something happens to them in the process? What if they, God willing, they don't get hospitalized, but what if they get hospitalized, or what if they go on vacation? How are you then getting serviced, right? Yeah. And so with Lindsay and I, the great thing is, like, yesterday I was telling you, I went in golfing yesterday, and I'm still checking my phone, right? But I'm actually not the one yesterday talking to clients. Lindsay's taking the reins, and she's servicing all the clients, and she's doing an excellent job at it. Yeah. And so it's like, I think that's really the biggest benefit is, you know that you're being taken care of by more than one person, and more than one person is working on your transaction at all times. And so you're never going to be in a situation where you're not being taken care of. Yeah. Then to take that a step further too, I feel like when in a relationship, when you're working with your spouse and someone wants to come work with you, there might be another layer of trust, because now at this point we've established ourselves in the community as a trustworthy couple, that people can come to us. They can come to us in confidence. They can come to us with whatever they're struggling with, and we're going to be there for them, and we're not going to gossip about them. Yeah. They can feel safe when they reach out to us. And And so I think that's really important when it comes to selling houses or buying houses, because I mean, it's very stressful and people want to feel that comfort, and just dealing with a married couple that's been together for 20 years and have established credibility, I think really helps with that.
That makes sense. Yeah. So with the demand that, you guys have with, obviously you've built a great business, and so you're going to have a lot of phone calls, you're going to have a lot of showings. And then you and your wife are obviously in business together. So you're doing a lot of the same things like you just talked about. You got to have this line of not always talking about business, but I'm sure, that's even hard too.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you have a daughter at home too.
Yep.
So how do you separate that from like when you and your wife are home, that you guys have that thing that you could talk about all the time? How do you separate that from just being the parent?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, it starts with the clients. Yeah, we have to set expectations.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, say you came to me and you wanted to buy a home. We would set up a meeting and I would talk to you about expectations. So this is what I'm going to do for you, Levonte. Also, I coach my daughter in travel softball, and we spend a lot of weekends gone. That doesn't mean you're not going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Like, we have 2 teammates that will help you show houses while we're gone. We're going to negotiate all contracts, but there's going to be times where I'm going to be away and I'm going to be with my daughter, and that's very important to us. And people respect that. As long as they know the expectation going in and still choose to work with you, then it allows for the breathing room on both parties.
Yeah.
People just want to know they're going to be taken care of.
Right.
And so oftentimes, like, we're going to get out of town. We're going to go play softball. I'm going to be spending a lot of time with my wife and daughter, and it's okay. It's okay because we've had those conversations up front. We've set those expectations. So I don't know if that quite answers your question.
Well, it does. Yeah. I always think about, with business, and like we were talking about off camera, with entrepreneurs, it's just a demand, and like we're just built to do it, and we're built to always try to build something, and we want to see, it go to greatness or continue to greatness. And with that, obviously there's some sacrifice, but at the end of the day, we're also called to be parents, right? And so how do you find this fine line of building this great thing? Because I'm sure what you're doing it for her.
Yeah.
You're doing it for your family, you're doing it for her, your future grandkids or whatever it is. So, I'm always curious about the balance people have with growing something great and then still being able to pour into your daughter, as far as what you really, what we're called to do as far as, pouring into them and teaching them and, keeping faith. Obviously you're a Christian guy too. So how do you also like relay that to her too? Are there things that you find important that she know, like from what you're doing? Like, is there something in your business that you're trying to teach to her as far as an attribute, a skill? What's important to you to teach to her? Yeah.
So, I mean, ultimately we're legacy minded, right?
Okay.
And so the buck could just stop with Lindsay and I if we weren't, and we could just be out trying to build Jeremy and Lindsay's world, right? But that's not us. When we started going to church, that's one thing that had been instilled in us, and through reading the Bible and all stuff, like, we're called to help other people, and our first ministry is our house. And if those 4 walls aren't good, nothing's going to be good.
Right.
And so in order to see you can always tell the greatness of a man by the fruit that he leaves behind, right?
Amen.
And so if my daughter grows up and she becomes this great and powerful woman, mother, wife, and she see, I think God will say, well done, like, good and faithful servant, right? And on the other hand, like, if my daughter is out running the streets, that's also a reflection on me as a parent. And so thankfully, like, our daughter is amazing. Like, she's so awesome, and like, we really enjoy spending time with her. But like, it doesn't, like, it comes with a lot of teaching. And so, like, when Callie sees us working our business, like, and sometimes we might have to say no to things because we are building this business. That's teaching her. It's showing her that you have to work hard. It's showing her, if you want to get ahead in life, there's sacrifices that have to be made. She saw us as W-2 employees, and we'd be home by 4 or 5 o'clock, and we'd have all night and all weekend to do it. We'd go on vacation, not have to answer our phones, like, and she saw that life, and she saw that we that she saw that we built a good life and that we had a nice house, but now she's also seen real estate and what that's done for us as entrepreneurs, and she's seen us sacrifice, weekends and evenings, and sometimes have to say no to different things. But now we have our dream home. She's able to play travel softball, which is insanely expensive.
Right.
Yeah. And
all these sports now.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to help her pay for college and all this stuff. And these are all benefits of of being an entrepreneur. And so it's been great. But yeah, first and foremost, like we always keep God at the forefront of everything we do. We're steadfast in going to church and being faithful in our serving there and everything else. So
yeah. Well, just going into that a little bit further, obviously I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and we'll probably have more kids. And one of the things that's really important to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, is continuing to pass down that faith to where like you create this environment where they also become dependent on God. They love God and they serve God. Yep. But I'm sure that's really difficult. How have you guys been able to kind of pass that faith down to your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. So Lindsay and I did a lot of things backwards. We bought a house before we got married, and there's a lot of things that we could have changed, but it all leads to our experience today. And we didn't grow. We grew up going to church sporadically with our families, and but we weren't necessarily living for God. And so my daughter's had a totally different experience. But it started with our daycare lady, Grandma Jenny, and she used to come pick Callie up at our house and take her to church when we weren't going. Wow. When I was hung over on the couch watching football on a Sunday, Grandma Jenny was coming to pick her up and take her to church. And she has no relationship to us. She was the daycare lady, but she was an amazing woman. And, and so Callie got exposed to church very, very early, and it was awesome. And then so when we got invited to go to church by our buddy Carl, like we went and we loved it, and we changed the way we lived, or changed our legacy forever. But one thing I'll say is like talking about Grandma Jenny, it's not just what Lindsay and I feed into our daughter; it's about the people you bring into her life too. And so your kids, like, it takes a tribe, and it's very true. Like our youth leaders at church have been instrumental in helping mold our daughter, because oftentimes they'll say the same thing we say, but it's received differently.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah, it's not the parents.
Yep. Same thing with Jenny. Like everything she instilled into our daughter was received differently than how we would if we would say the same thing. Yeah. And so as a father, like growing up, I would say, like, get the right people in your corner, get them in your boat, and because they're going to help influence your kids as much or more than you at some point. Right. And so, like, I've always told my daughter, like, when she starts dating, there's 2 things that I want for you to want out of a boyfriend, and one of them is for him to know God, and for him to ask my permission, and Callie hasn't had a boyfriend yet, but she's going to very soon. She's almost she'll be 17 on Friday, and she's had an interest from boys, but she's always stayed true to her beliefs, and she's not dating just to date. She's literally, in her mind, she's dating to marry, and love that. And so Lindsay and I have actually told her sometimes that she is a little too picky, and that she probably does need to date a little bit to see, to get the experience of dating, but do it obviously like honoring and not and stay true to your faith and what you believe, and don't give in to those temptations of the world, because they're out there. Right.
It's funny, my wife was the same way. She grew up in a Christian home. Her father and mother also instilled the same values into her, and she never dated anybody. I met her, she was probably, like 23-ish, and maybe 22, 23, and I was the first person she even brought home. at 22, 23,
Yep.
and we got married.
That's awesome.
That's how like consistent she was with that, and that's how important it was. And to your point, I mean, had she dated someone else, I'm sure it'd be fine. But she knew and could recognize like this is godly, this is honoring, and I'm always going to do that even before. And that's kind of how we've always kind of gone through our marriage. And so and I will say it is huge. Like it's so impactful. And I grew up the same way where I wasn't, I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't grow up a Christian. And so I didn't always understand why she was making those decisions or why we couldn't do X, Y, and Z. But now I know that like having an God honoring relationship in marriage, it is just like the best thing, and it's really like the only way to have a successful marriage, I believe. I mean, without God in a marriage, there's just too many temptations. There's too many things out there that can derail you from what marriage means, how honoring it's supposed to be. And there's just people out there that will convince you that, things are okay and they're not, they're just not. So, going back to you a little bit, you just talked about how, there were times where you'd wake up hungover on the couch and watching football. When did that happen for you? When did you find your relationship with God? And then when did it become important to you to where that's what you want to teach your kids?
Yeah. So, I mean, my grandma was a teacher at St. Joe's. And so we would go to mass on Sundays as kids. And I was bored. Like I didn't enjoy it at all.
Right.
My Aunt Katie would take us to Sunday school sometimes, and we would go to her church's youth groups, and that was a lot more fun. But then, as I become a young adult, and I didn't find any value in church at all. And I remember even doing AdvoCare, like Michael W. Smith at Cowboy Stadium. We had optional Sunday service because AdvoCare was a Christian company, and I did not want to go. And this is one of the greatest Christian singers of all time in Cowboy Stadium on the 50-yard line. Like, we were sitting front row, and I was like, didn't want to be there. And but something impacted me when I was there. And then my buddy Carl, who was in the same boat as me, we used to hit the beer bong and drink 30 packs of Busch Light like they were going out of style, and that was our life. And Carl gave all that up and started following God. Carl started going to church. Carl got excited about Sunday service at AdvoCare National Success School. And so when I saw Carl enjoy this, and Carl was right next to me. Carl was in my boat for all these years, one of my best friends. And when I saw the change in him, I wanted that. And so he invited us. We went the last week of 2013. And the message really hit home, and it was fun. Worship was fun. The message was great, and so we went back and we kept going back. We got involved in small groups. And June 8th of 2014, I'll never forget it because 6 plus 8 is 14. June 8th of 2014.
Oh wow!
And so I decided to get baptized, and this was after we had a conference where Pastor Benny Perez was in town preaching, and I gave my life to Jesus that night. He was in town, and then I got baptized on June 8th of 2014, and we've hit the ground running since, and it's been really transformational. So I can tell you right now, like our first 7 years of marriage were a lot of high moments, a lot of really low moments. After surrendering our life, like it's been up and up and up and up.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, obviously, you just said that God has had an impact in your marriage, and I also think it's important to have that connection between God and business too. How have you seen God work in your life as far as a business standpoint? And you made a comment about you could see something in him that you wanted, and I always think like that, where that's how Christians should be, to where maybe not, it's always not always preaching or not being able to share the gospel all the time, or not being able to share have a testimony in any place, but you should always be able to see the difference in a person. So going back to my original question, what have you seen God work in your business, and the impact that you've been able to create?
First of all, your life is the biggest testimony that how you, as a Christian, like, you might be the only representation of God that anybody ever sees. And And if you believe that and you live that way, it'll change the way you live. But it could be it could be the downfall too. If you proclaim to be a Christian and then you're out cussing people out and
we see that
going to the club, beating people up, not living a life worthy of following. Now you've turned people away from God.
Right.
And so in Advocate, I remember someone asked me, "Would you follow you?" And that was a question that has stuck with me for the last 15 years. It's like, would you follow you? And at that time, I thought, yeah, I would follow me. But I've come to learn, that, man, I wasn't really worthy of following like I thought I was at that time. So I think that's a great question for people to ask themselves is, would you follow you? But God's really showed up in my business by, and I don't think that I could have transferred from Coca-Cola to entrepreneurship as flawlessly as we did without being faithful to God. I feel like when you're faithful to God, God's going to provide. And you can't just say, I'm going to be faithful to God so that I can get this.
Right.
Because God knows the true intentions of your heart.
Yep.
And so I do believe that God made a way for us to succeed in real estate. And I believe he keeps putting people in our lives to help as a result of our faithfulness to him. And that's not at all why we stay faithful to him. Because again, if I said, hey, I'm just going to keep going to church and read my Bible so that I can get rich and I can have all this money and do whatever I want. God sees through that. Man may not be able to see through that, but God sees through that. And so I feel like because we are true in our beliefs and that God continues to provide for us in all ways. And we have 2 people have joined our team that are also Christians, and they're seeing success as well. And it's a lot, people are starting to profess their faith to us more and more and more. And it's it's great. It seems people aren't reserved when they come talk to us about that kind of thing.
Yeah. Obviously, you just said you have other people around you that are Christians in the business realm, which makes your team, great. How do you deal with doing business with people that may not be Christians and have different values than you?
So it happens all the time. And actually, even outside of business, you're going to be around people that don't have the same values.
Right.
So, actually, 2 of my best friends don't believe in God. And that's tough for me. I want them to believe in God. I want them to accept Jesus, and I want them to be in heaven with us one day. Yeah. But they don't believe in God. And I don't think that they're bad people. I worry about eternity for them, but they're definitely not bad people. And I mean, even Jesus was the example of that to us. Jesus was hanging out with sinners and tax collectors. And, if we're only hanging out with people that believe what we believe, then there's not going to be any more new Christians. And so we can't be influenced by some of the decisions that our friends make that don't believe in God either, because they don't believe in the same thing we do. Right. And so it can be challenging in those interpersonal relationships, and then also in business. I always have faith. I always have faith that transactions are going to work out, that homes are going to sell, because people want to buy and people want to sell. And if we can find common ground that works for everybody, then the transaction will finish. But when you're dealing with someone who doesn't have faith in God, they are easily swayed by everything that goes on, by what their friends say, by what's going on in the media, and it's hard for them to have that same faith. And so it creates situations where we have to be that strength for them in the times where they're not strong, and that's okay. It's okay. It's just different.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because I feel like in my line of industry, in business in general, I think what people experience a lot is people that are egotistical, self-serving, Because of entrepreneurship, there's this ability to make a lot of money, and that's some people's heart. Like that's what they love. They love money, and okay, but in our line of industry, we're cleaning windows, we're doing pressure washing, and sometimes mistakes happen, right? Like whether we don't get to this corner or whatever it is, and I'll get calls from people, and it's like, oh well, you didn't do this. It's like, oh okay, like we'll come right back.
Yeah.
And it's like, like they're so used to just combating with people that like don't truly care for them and like the outcome. And I feel like that's one of the ways that we've been able to separate ourselves as business owners. It's like, okay, we made a mistake. Like we'll continue to serve you. Like that's our big thing in our business is like we wash to serve. Like that's kind of our slogan. Yeah. Because we take it as an opportunity to serve people, and we want to serve people well. So again, mistakes are made in businesses, and we know that. So we're always going to do right by people. And we'll make it right. But it is interesting. I think a lot of people deal with people that are ego-centered and self-centered, and I'm sure you've seen in real estate too. Because I feel like there's this conception with real estate to where you watch like Selling Sunset. You want to make the millions, you want to do that, and like there's obviously opportunity to do good, but if you're not really doing it again to serve people and to guide people and help them with the biggest purchase that you talked about, the biggest purchase of their lives, then it's just really unfortunate. I'm sure you probably even see that with deals. Like, do you experience that when you're maybe negotiating with other agents or buyers or? Yeah,
I mean, so you're going to see there's a lot to touch on there. Okay. First off, I love what you said about yes, we'll come back and fix that because we're all going to mess up. I don't care how good you are at anything, you're going to mess up. Yep. Tom Brady didn't win every Super Bowl, but Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. Yep. Tom Brady threw interceptions. Tom Brady cost his team games at points. Nobody remembers that because how Tom Brady reacted. And so when we fail, how we respond to a situation is everything. And so it's a huge opportunity. Like when and it's from cleaning windows to whatever. Like from cleaning windows to anything. Like we're all going to make mistakes, and so when you miss a spot on a window, or say you damage the window, or damage the screen, or damage the door, like for you to take ownership of that and go and make it right, it might cost you something. It might cost you something in the moment. It might cost you money. It might cost you time. It might cost you both. But what it's gained you is it's gained you reputation. It's gained you trust. And now it's also gained you good standing with those people around you and with God, because you're honoring people. And so I love that. Same thing in real estate. Like you're dealing with people from every facet of life. And yes, you can make a ton of money in real estate. But the vast majority of people never do. Like the vast majority, in fact, 87% of agents are out of the business within 5 years. Wow. It's a huge, in this industry, failure is more common than success. Yeah. And so you have to do things right. And in negotiations in homes and whatnot, you can usually spot those people because they want to win every negotiation. And so that's not always in your client's best interest. Right. Like you might be trying to win a negotiation to help your clients out when in fact you're hurting their chances of buying that house. And what that might look like is like, Levonte, you might, on an inspection response, it might be a super clean house, but you're like, I want to win this for them. And now you're making it about yourself. Yeah, right. And so you might go ask for $5,000 worth of repairs when in reality, like there's not $5,000 worth of repairs. Right. There's some hot water heater strap. There's some water heater straps that need to be installed. And there's some loose shingles on the roof that need to be reattached. But you're asking for just insane stuff, and your clients didn't really necessarily want that, but you've talked them into it. Yeah, right. And so now you've created dissension between you and between the buyer and the seller, and now that transaction may not close, and that buyer might miss out on that home that they really love because we put our emotion and our want to win in front of our client's best interests. Yeah. And so you can see that in people, but if you continue to put people first, you will always win. And I'm a firm believer in that. So it sounds like you're doing that in your business.
Absolutely, too. So. Yeah, we definitely do. So obviously, you have done well, in real estate. You found some success in that, and we talked a little bit off camera about what we can do as business owners and entrepreneurs with that money, and be great stewards of it.
Yep.
So can you talk to me a little bit about the kind of the goal you talked about with church and how you are being great stewards with the money that you're making?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of things poorly with money over the years. We grew up poor. Like, we had cockroaches, and we lived in a very bad part of town, and so we didn't have great financial stewards in our lives. And my parents worked really hard.
Yeah.
They provided the best they could for us. But at the same time, like, we saw all of our, we didn't have that model of how to manage money, right? And so we made a lot of mistakes growing up, and we got into like $60,000 worth of credit card debt.
Wow.
As a young couple, and got out of debt through the Dave Ramsey program.
There you go.
So very, very grateful for Dave Ramsey. Don't always agree with everything he says, but very grateful that he was able to help us get out of debt through his program. But that being said, making money can be really, really great for anybody, right? But how do you steward it? And so you can make a lot of money for selfish reasons and go buy houses and go buy expensive cars and go buy all stuff. And like, having a great house and having a great car, that's not a bad thing. Like, I don't think God's going to look down on you, Levonte, or on me because, we bought our wife a brand new car, or because we bought the home of our dreams. Even if the people around us are struggling, like, we've worked really hard to achieve that stuff. But if we do all that stuff and then fail to help the people around us, I think we failed as Christians. And so that being said, like, we set out a goal to give a lot. Our church is building a brand new building, and so we set out a goal to give $100,000 to our church this year. And that's an insane amount of money. That's an insane amount of money. Like, that's more than I ever made at Coca-Cola in any year in 20 years of my life. And will we get there? Will we not get there? I don't know. We've had a great year, and and I don't say that out of selfishness or self-promotion or anything like that. So the reason I even share that is because I want people to understand it doesn't matter if you make $40,000 or $400,000 or $4 million. Like, we should give out of the excess in our life, and we all have excess at
100%.
At any point. If you can afford a $1,300 iPhone, and a $200 a month iPhone payment, like, you can afford to do other things in life too. Many people have $1,300 car payments a month, and
I know,
and it's insane. But if you can have a $1,300 car payment a month, you can do other things in life too, and you can give to those in need. And so I just think it's really important that no matter what you achieve in life, you're always looking to help other people. And if you put other people first, you'll always have what you need. Because it changes your heart. Like, it changes your heart from selfish to giving.
Absolutely. That's part of the reason why we started this too, is high value, because I feel like there's this misconception between the balance of business, family, and faith, and they all go hand in hand. I think we should strive to be the best in all of them. But I think that, from a business standpoint, the ability to make money, and a lot of money, I think we need to prioritize, not out of the love of money, but out of impact. And we need to remember that in order to make a lot of impact, you got to have resources, and that resource usually means money. So like for you, that $100,000 to your church is probably going to go a long way. And what that $100,000 is going to do, it's probably going to help your church reach the community around it, because obviously you guys are moving into a whole different community. I mean, and whether that's be able to hire people that can go out, whether it's having resources in the church that they can give out to people, whether it's whatever it may be, in order to make that impact, they have to have money. And I feel like a lot of churches struggle. We've talked about this off camera a little bit, but they struggle with the resources. And I've talked to many people that say that tithing and offerings have gone way down, and I guess the cost of life is going up. But like you just said, I mean, if we can afford $1,200 phone, and the car payments nowadays are just crazy. I mean, I was a loan officer, so I saw firsthand where people are paying $1,000 plus in car payments. But instead, if we just continue to build up the resources that can make impact, I think we'd be better off as a Christian faith, but also as people. And one of those things that I've been talking about lately is like equity, and I think we need to look long term. And you talked about legacy early on, where in business, if we have equity in business, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, like doesn't matter. Like not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur, and not everyone wants to grind the way the entrepreneurs have to, and that's okay. But there's still ways to have ownership in things that can be passed down, or that can generate money, or that can generate resources, to then have that surplus to where we can give back to other people. That makes sense at all?
No, I totally agree, but I don't think we can do it alone either. So my prayer is that more entrepreneurs will rise up, more Christian entrepreneurs will rise up,
100%,
and that they'll have the same heart to give back. And I think if you call yourself Christian, and you call yourself an entrepreneur, and you don't give back, then you're a false prophet. And I fully believe that. I see many people who struggle to put clothes on their back, who are getting food stamps, who rely on government assistance, and they're giving back to people. And maybe they're not just giving back financially, but maybe they're giving back with their time. They're giving back with their talents. And so as entrepreneurs, and especially as successful entrepreneurs, you should give back equal to what the same person that doesn't have all the resources gives back. And it's not always money. Sometimes it's time and talents, and sometimes it's providing a job for someone, and it looks differently. But I agree, man. I think we're called to do that, and we should be doing it, and not enough people do.
Right. Well, do you think there's a way to kind of recruit or just create more of a better environment for Christians to become entrepreneurs? Like, why do you think more outwardly spoken Christians don't get in the entrepreneurship game? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I think so. For the people outside of the church, the world, as the Bible would say, they would look down on people who make a lot of money and go to church. The people, like, I see it all the time. Like, oh, why? He claims to be a Christian, and yet he has this Cadillac, and all his friends are poor, and blah 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 blah. And so you see the world look down on people of money, right? And I mean, growing up, like we struggled financially, and I was in that same boat where I was like, man, I hate rich people, but I had a different perception than I have now. And I think when you make money, people can perceive you as one way. But if you truly believe in what God says, and you give back, and you help make a difference in people's lives, they will not perceive you that way. I don't think. I mean, there's people out there that make a ton of money that aren't perceived as greedy, that aren't perceived as selfish, and they make a lot of money. And I think the reason that they're not perceived that way is because they're doing things the way God says. Right. So I think you can have really great things too, but you can't. Again, it's about what God judges your heart, and if your heart's in the right place, you will make good financial decisions with the resources God's entrusted you with.
I think of church too, and I've always been one where, tithing and offerings, obviously a lot of times it goes back to the church, but again, in the Bible, I don't think that's like cut in stone. I think, like you're saying, it comes from the heart. So like just having a giving heart and finding in areas where you can give back. And I think, to your point, there is this negative connotation of people with a lot of money, and they think like, oh, if you have a lot of money, then you aren't like serving people, or you aren't, doing X, Y, and Z. But again, I think about it in this way: if a guy with our hearts, that want to serve God, have $10 million. Think about, a business that, creates $10 million. Think about the impact that can have on a community, right? And I've had conversations with guys in church, and, he was talking about how there's a men's conference and he'd love to go, like he's on the fringe about God and he think it'd be a really good, just experience. But he was like, but I can't really afford it. It's like $500. They go to the ski resort. And I'm like, well, how cool would that be if, there's more entrepreneurs that are running solid businesses that can just like, oh, well, we'll just sponsor this. And we're going to give money so that every man that wants to go and have their life impacted by God can go, right? Or I think about it in this way too, where business can be a ministry, right? If you go into as the owner and you build this business, there's people that are under you, and you can testify to them, and you can show them different values, and they can learn from you, and you can have that impact on them. So if you have one business, maybe, you're lucky enough to have two, and you have a franchise, whatever it may be, and you create this system of impact, and you create the system of just this heart behind it, you're going to influence a lot of people. And then again, because they can sense that, they're going to be like, well, what's different about you? Like, why do you do this? And it's like, well, let me tell you, and you can testify to them, and be a great disciple. So I always look at business as, just another way to share the gospel too.
For sure. And like, you could be talking to another business owner, right? Maybe you hire a videographer that doesn't know Jesus, right? But you see that they're a really good person and they're making a ton of money, but there might be a conference that they want to go to, and maybe it does cost $500 to go to. I mean, that would be a really expensive conference, but right. But say it does, and to them they say, "Oh, I can't afford $500," but darn well they can afford $500. To them, it's just not, the $500 isn't value to them. And so what if Levonte said, I'm going to go buy them a ticket. And so maybe you go buy them a ticket. You don't even tell them you're going to go buy it. You go buy it, you give it to them. And you invite them to go along with you. What that $500 might just change that person's entire life, their legacy. That invite might have impacted their kids and their kids' kids. The same way that Carl's invite impacted me and my wife and our daughter. And now your daughter, and it'll be our daughter's daughter. And so on and so forth. And so I think is like, in order to get more entrepreneurs into believing in Christ and into giving back and making a better world, like, we have to be bold enough to say, to encourage them to do so. We have to be bold enough to invite them. We have to be bold enough to pay for it. Like, we just have to be bold enough. We're bold in our business. Why aren't we bold in our faith? And so I think that's the biggest thing, is like, a lot of times men will sink back and not be bold enough to extend the invite. What
I've seen also, and I'd be curious to hear your perspective, is I think of like the Mormon church, to where those guys really, come together as like business owners, and they really support one another. Have you seen it to where other Christian people maybe choose others in business that aren't Christians instead of choosing their Christians brothers and sisters to do business with?
It's funny that you bring that up, because the Mormon church is really a great example, and I don't believe in all their teachings, but that aspect to me is, but they do a really great job of networking through the people that believe like they believe.
No doubt.
Like, probably better than any other organized religion in the world. Hands down. And there's a lot of fruit that bears from that. And so I know I have a lot of friends that are Mormon, and they're a lot of times they're business owners, and they're hiring other people, and they're encouraging them to start businesses. And so I will say Christians can do a better job at that. Like, and I've personally tried to do a better job at that. So we hire cleaners, we hire contractors to work for our clients, right? So we have this couple real near and dear to us, Damien and Marty Shelton, and we had encouraged them to go into business for a long time. And Marty had been cleaning houses for us, and Marty finally took the leap, and she opened Revitalized Cleaning Services, and she's done an amazing job. And she has she's built this huge cleaning company in less than a year, and it's awesome. And she's able to she's employing people from the church too.
Yeah.
And if they go out on their own, then and do the same thing. Like, Marty should celebrate that, and I know she would. And my buddy John Hunter, like I encouraged him to go out and open his own construction company, and he did, and he's seen a lot of success, and he's hiring people from the church, and I love it. And it's like, that's what we should do. Like we shouldn't, like, I think a lot of times people won't encourage other people to get into business for themselves because they're afraid they're going to take business from them. I got a lot of friends that want to get into real estate, and what if I told them all the negatives about real estate? Like, what if I said, you have an 87% chance of not making it in 5 years. Are you sure you want to leave that job? Like, what if that was my message to them, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, or what if I gave them the message, like, hey, like, I was able to leave my job of 19 and a half years, and if I can do this, I know you can do it too.
Yeah.
Like, those are two different messages, right? And it's and yes, like, it could be that person will come into real estate and we have the same circle of influence, and maybe they do take some sales away from me.
Yeah.
But so what?
Right.
There's enough to go around.
It's enough to go around.
And the cream rises to the top. And if that person wins, I win.
Yeah. Right.
And if that person wins, the kingdom wins.
Right. Right.
And so we can't live out of selfish ambition, man. Like, there's too much of that going around.
Yeah. You on social media, where can people follow you and find out what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can find me, Jeremy Sinis. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I don't have anyone managing my social media pages. I take care of that myself.
There you
go. If you message me or anything, you're going to get a response from me. And I'm very grateful to be on your podcast today. I think that you're going to do great things with this. And again, you're a guy that I admire. I think you're doing great things in your family, in the business realm, and I just keep praying for success for you, man.
Well, thank you, and I really appreciate that. It means a lot, and I felt the same way. You know, I feel like, especially after this conversation, that's why I kind of wanted to do this too, where you learn more about people, and you learn about people that are in your community that maybe you haven't spent as much time, or I feel like I learned a lot of different perspectives from you, and obviously you're further along in business, you're further along in, you know, as a parent and as a husband. So I'm
much older than you.
Just a little bit, but you know, I do appreciate that. Like, this is a good situation for me where I just get to learn. But you know, and you're also someone I look up to too. So it's just fun to have you here. So I appreciate you doing this.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys go follow Jeremy, go see what he's up to, go support him in his real estate business, and we'll see you at the next one.